Hello and welcome to episode 235 of our SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is April 1st, and together with Robert and Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone. So we are recording this session on Tuesday. Next Friday, so actually one day before we publish this video, we have 5 different hands-on labs at the DSAG TechXChange 2025. You might ask, well, why do I care? Why am I am not even attending? Or if you are, you might not have been able to sign up because all the sessions are fully booked. Well, the cool thing is all these sessions are documented and published on GitHub. So if you are not able to attend, you can still take a look at the tutorials which guide you through the process. In most of the cases, you can easily substitute the setup that we are providing for the attendees with an environment and scenarios that are available in trial. With this, we hope you can also experience the benefit of integrating SAP with Microsoft. To give you a glimpse of what we have prepared, I have some of the contributors for the sessions with us today, Martin and Michael from SAP. So before we take a look at the sessions, let's start with a quick introduction. Michael, let's start with you.
Yes, so hello, Michael Schmidt, my name. I'm a product manager for SAP Enterprise Threat Detection, and as we are showing an intro or a hands-on session about a hack session with integration of SAP Enterprise Threat Detection together with Microsoft Sentinel, I will be on the stage or together with Martin Pankraz.
Perfect. Then Martin, maybe over to you. Martin Pankraz, over to you.
Yeah, very much looking forward to do this together with SAP always. My name is Martin Pankraz, product manager at Microsoft. And in my role, there's always like scenarios where we do stuff together with SAP. And this hack on that Friday is really like a prime example where both worlds come together, both product teams working together. And yeah, really excited for the session and what the customers think when they combine both.
Perfect. And Martin, last but not least.
Martin Raepple. Yeah, thanks, Holger. Martin Raepple, also not really new to Holger's show, so thanks again, Holger, for inviting me. I'm a technical program manager with Microsoft. Have been with SAP quite also many years. This year at the TechXChange, I have the pleasure to jointly go on stage with Regine Schimmer from SAP, who's unfortunately not with us in this show today, but I've worked with, or I'm working with her on the whole program of helping joint Microsoft and SAP customers to migrate from SAP Identity Management, which will be end of maintenance in 2027, and to migrate to Entra, basically following the announcement that was made at the same DSAG event last year.
Right.
Where at that time, Sebastian
Westphal
and Jürgen Müller on stage announced the news all around our collaboration with Microsoft and SAP.
That's actually really cool. I had forgotten about this, that the original announcement was a year ago, basically. And yes, now you're showing hands-on. You're providing a hands-on lab that guides to these steps. That's actually really cool.
Right, and Martin and I also have the pleasure to have a lecture session all around security, SAP and Microsoft at the Technologietage, where we also talk a little bit more about, so less hands-on, more on the program side, what has happened since then, and so quite a lot to talk about this topic.
Really, really cool. So before we dive or just take a closer look at the actual sessions, let me quickly set the scene. Maybe not everyone has heard about the DSAG TechXChange. As you mentioned, Martin, there's a 2-day event, the DSAG Technology Days. I think this is a very established format already for many, many years. The DSAG community is hosting a more technology-oriented event 2 days. And this year, for the second year, actually, they're having a TechXChange. The idea is to have really only hands-on sessions. To really no slides, just showing what's doing and actually hands-on, inviting the participants to go through with their own laptops through some scenarios, and it's a full agenda. There are a lot of cool sessions by SAP, by some partners, and yeah, we from Microsoft we are also there again, and we are also hosting quite a few sessions. Actually, this is the second time that we're doing this. Even last year, so at TechXChange 2024, which was the very first time, we also had a really good presence, I would say. Martin, we had quite a few sessions there. We also had a lot of participants joining us. So when then DSAG asked, look, are you interested in joining us again? Then I think it was a clear yes. We definitely wanted to contribute there as well. And the result is, well, there's a nice overview here of the sessions that we are having. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sessions all together. I mean, 2 of them are repeat, so we have 5 individual sessions, but I guess we will be pretty busy, or we will have been pretty busy when you watch this video.
Seeing is believing, right? And I would even go further. Doing yourself is believing. Yeah. So.
And I totally forgot. For me, this is absolutely really cool that we announced, or SAP announced, the deprecation of SAP IDM and the strategy to work with Entra ID, or with Microsoft on the Entra ID integration. And now we actually have a hands-on session. So Martin, can you tell us a little more about the deploy first SAP IDM scenario to Microsoft Entra ID?
Yes. Yeah. So again, I mean, working now for almost more than a year on this, on our collaboration and guidance for joint customers. I think we also learned a lot from that year with regards to what do our joint customers care most about in terms of scenarios that they have already implemented and used for years with SAP IDM, and where they put most of their focus on when they ask the question, basically, how do I do the same with Microsoft Entra? Mm-hmm. What we've also learned is that it is typically not a migration in that sense that either SAP or Microsoft provides a fancy tool that lets you click a button and then you migrate your scenario or your implementation from SAP IDM to Entra. So it's more. So, by the way, that tool doesn't exist and will never exist. So it's more a modernization or transformation, I would call it. Yeah. So less a migration. And this is exactly also what we try to, where the experience of this hands-on session is targeted to. So we will basically follow, hopefully, a scenario that is familiar to most of the attendees of that session, where we have a user requesting developer level access for an SAP system. In this case, the user wants to request access or developer access to a business technology platform. So we have a fictitious company that we actually also use throughout the other hands-on sessions, Best Run. So that employee of Best Run wants to develop new applications on Best Run's BTP environment, and for that reason, the user needs access to BTP. Basically, the user wants to have access to the SAP Business Application Studio in Best Run's BTP account. So for that reason, Best Run needs to implement, for example, a self-service UI that the user can use to request access for this role. And as a special goodie in this session, what we also want to explore is how do I customize those identity and access management workflows with Entra, because what we've seen is that many customers, to small extent or even to a very large extent used IDM as a tool to highly customize their business processes for identity and access management. With IDM or with SAP IDM, you can greatly do so because you have a lot of tools or mechanisms to do so. And in this workflow is also not really straightforward. It, for example, it requires that we detect the approver, or that we determine the approver for that access request from the user based on the user's input for this access request. So, for example, the approver to find who is the right approver for this access request depends, for example, on the company code that the user enters. So, think of our fictitious company Bestron being a multinational company with a lot of subsidiaries. So all of these subsidiaries are maintained in the SAP backend system. And based on the subsidiary, the user request this developer role access, a different approver needs to approve that request. So this master data is maintained in a custom table in Bestron's backend system, in Bestron's S/4HANA backend system. So the task in this hands-on session is basically to customize the workflow in Entra in that way that throughout while processing this access request and determining the approver for the access request, Entra needs to call that a service on the backend system that reads that table in the backend and returns the right approver for that access request. Yeah, so that's actually even a feature that we have relatively newly introduced in Entra, so-called dynamic approver. So to dynamically find an approver based on more complex business input or context information. Yeah? And last but not least, we also want to customize that workflow with a notification sent to the Security Operation Center team, the SOC team in our fictitious company. We want to send this notification on the SOC Teams channel, Microsoft Teams channel. So again, we customize the identity and access management workflow in the hands-on so that a Teams notification is sent after approval is given or denied. So because we are handling here highly privileged access, so developers typically have quite high privileges. So that's why the SOC team needs to be informed in our scenario. Right. So all in all, to summarize, I think it will be quite intense and a technical session. So we will cover self-service UI design. We will cover workflow, identity and access management workflow customization. We will cover SAP backend system integration. We will cover identity or permission management across SAP and Entra. So I think we do a lot in those 2 hours.
In just 2 hours,
but I'm still optimistic that we will get it done in 2 hours. So
cool,
right?
No, but it sounds like a really, really cool lab, and it is already full. It's already booked out. So this clearly shows there's a lot of interest in this scenario
Cool, scenarios, customer like spot, so to say, right? It's not something that we came up with. We had requirements to do this, and the new feature was then like verified with the scenario the customer had, right? And we have 3 customers that will be presenting at the upcoming identity conference. So the whole space like evolves around this architecture and scenario that Martin just showed here.
Exactly. Thanks, Martin, for putting that out. I mean, it's really driven by real customer scenarios. So it's not nothing or something that we just thought of ourselves and said, hey, this is a cool scenario, let's do that. It's really driven by customer feedback that we collected. All right.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Martin. With this, maybe let's go to the next quite interesting session, I would say, the secure SAP apps integration with Microsoft. Martin, what can you tell us a little about this session?
This is basically also a evolution of things that we did together with SAP last year, who everyone who followed the YouTube channel saw the session with Vinayak from the PM team within SAP Integration Suite at SAP. And together we've published policies for API management in both ecosystems to do principal propagation. And that's basically the mechanism to map identities in external identity providers to SAP named backend users. And that's relevant to apps on Azure, stuff in M365, when we think about Power Platform. And that's exactly the scenario we will actually be put to work in here. And we will be using the stuff that we published on SAP's Business API Accelerator Hub, the stuff that we publish on our own snippets for Azure services for API management. And in here, there's like a nice walkthrough to get Microsoft Power Platform fully equipped with the stuff required for SAP to have a like a robust and compliant backend access. So.
And that's for me the most exciting thing about this session, honestly. We always talk about single sign-on because I mean when you have the integration between SAP and Microsoft, you need to have single sign-on or principal propagation in place. I think this is a mandatory requirement. But in a lot of customers, when you interact, oh, this is so complicated, you need to do so many things, and this is not working, that is not working. And here, you're showing in 2 hours, basically, how to set this up. Yes, this is in a lab environment, and we all know at the customer scenario, it's still different. But for me, it's so amazing. The things that you have already published, like you were already talking about the templates. There are so many things there that you can just copy and paste or import, and then a lot of things are taken care of already. So I'm really looking forward to this session. And again, this is also booked out already because it really guides you nicely through the whole process of setting up principal propagation between your Microsoft applications and the SAP backend system. So this is also something that I'm very excited about.
And those things are simple, I'd say, because we have this relationship with SAP. And when we do stuff together, it simply like comes together more smoothly. And this is one of the examples where this then plays out in reality.
Well, actually, another very nice example of this collaborating and then also working together also in the session is the Hack SAP in 2 hours. SAP Enterprise Threat Detection joins Sentinel. So I think Martin, Michael, both of you are very much active in this specific session here.
Exactly, yeah. And this was also an evolution of things we did in the past year. DSAG offers also, like, besides the conferences and the TechXChange, hands-ons if there's content for it. And we ran such a session last year. And one of the questions that we asked during early phases of the collaboration with Michael and his team and the Enterprise Threat Detection team at SAP, what customers and partners would think about this. And since there was positive feedback there, we actually then said, okay, then let's really double down on this and put this into practice and come up with this hands-on at the TechXChange. Yeah, so this is like the common theme that runs through the whole offering that we have here, that we learned something last year, we gathered feedback and then experimented with it and came up with something that actually lands into product and can be done and used today. Yeah. And Michael will share a bit more in a second on the ETD part, but essentially we've moved our session cookie theft scenario with which you can bypass multi-factor authentication prompts. Yes, people think that's the ultimate security mechanism, but not in the simple form. Yeah, and that's one of the learnings you will find in that session. And basically, we are compromising a single sign-on that runs through Entra ID onto SAP and detect this and counter it in a blue team, red team exercise. And ETD very much plays a very, very relevant role in protecting in this. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. You show what's happening there, and then there's the handover to the ETD part, and then Michael can share a bit. Once you reach quest 3, you've already done the mischief, and now you need to look into protecting this. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So in general, first of all, thanks for having that session together with you in here, especially in the podcast, but as well on Friday in that real hands-on session. Very, very nice. We did a lot of efforts into that session, by the way. And as you said, Martin, we prepared that since the last year. Yeah. So we did, for example, an announcement on that, how we would like to work together, and that are the first results. And we are still at the beginning of that journey, I would say. Yeah. So it's a first integration, but nevertheless, it shall show and will show the additional value that we achieve with an integration of Microsoft Sentinel with SAP Enterprise Threat Detection. Why? Because SAP Enterprise Threat Detection provides this ability to have very special content about securing SAP system landscapes, and that is very nice because it can very much integrate and nicely integrate with Sentinel, where you can then have an additional value around. All the data is then coming into Sentinel, not only the SAP data, as well IT infrastructure data, for example, from Azure, and that provides an additional ability to look into the data and to get an overall information and knowledge gain related to security. Very important. So what we see then in SAP Enterprise Threat Detection after the hack is done is certain alerts related exactly to this hack, because this is coming out now out of a completely foreign IP address range, for example. And especially so if you have been looking into Quest 2, if you are in the SAP system, you can do some additional some attacks or some bad things. Yeah, in that case, it's an easy example by calling a function module which has the name BRP user get detail, very much known because it contains as well user password hashes. And then after you have started that, you might be able to rerun a dehashing of a password if it is not too difficult one, let's say. Yeah, so if you don't take care and you take a word or a dictionary naming, then it might be easy to find out the right password out of that. And the result is then you get several alerts in SAP Enterprise Threat Detection. These you can firstly see via exactly what you show here, Holger. You go hands-on really into SAP Enterprise Threat Detection, look into the alerts, and then later on there is as well a possibility to go into a round trip if you are further interested. It's not part of that session, but if people are more interested in the enterprise threat detection, there is a whole UI round trip PDF connected to that you can download. And then we jump back to Microsoft Sentinel and look at how this looks like in Sentinel. I hand over back to you, Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. There's the official solution published to the Sentinel Content Hub from SAP for the ETD solution. And in there, we enable the correlation scenario where we take the signals coming from ETD for all the SAP systems that are connected and the ability to use various attributes like the IP address and more going forward, like emails, for instance, to really see how the attack went down through phishing emails, logins to VMs, you name it. All the Microsoft known endpoints, so to say. And through this connector here and the solution from SAP really connect both worlds. And the participants will learn how this looks like. And we as engineering on both sides at SAP and Microsoft are very curious where we need to nail down. And that's what we're trying to learn also with the Sensor session.
Exactly. So I'm very curious about the final voting and what additionally we get on feedback. Absolutely. Yep.
Perfect. Cool. So yet another really interesting sessions. And showing nicely this collaboration. As you said, Michael, first we look at ETD. What are the logs and information that we see in ETD, and then we also show how ETD is actually integrated in Sentinel, and how a SOC analyst could, who's working on Sentinel, maybe also looking at Microsoft 365 events, and then he also sees or she also sees the events via ETD in Sentinel. So really nice. Cool. Then quickly to close off with the other two sessions. Let me actually start with the getting started. So the idea is here that we want to show how you can use Copilot Studio together with SAP. So basically Copilot Studio, the low-code tool from Microsoft to create a Copilot, how this can also be connected to SAP. So how we can just call an SAP system in the background, or an OData service specifically, obviously. In this case, actually just we're using basic authentication, but potentially the very same things that you learned in the session from Martin on the single sign-on or principal propagation could also be applied here. We're just leaving this out because then we probably would have a 4-hour session, but we show how you can actually look up product information in an SAP system, and how you can also update product information in the SAP system from Copilot. So really having a UI, basically, which you can interact with in natural language. I mean, potentially we could also show this in Teams integration or in a web client or something like that. And from there, you can interact with your SAP system. That's the first session that we have. The other session, and Robin Rosengrün actually was very instrumental in creating this session here. So unfortunately, he could not join us today in the podcast recording, but he's then going one step further. And I just see we need to update here the subject, because this was apparently a copy paste issue still from the repository. But here in this second flow, we're actually creating an agent, an autonomous agent that is triggered by a certain event. So this event could be something that is happening in the SAP system, maybe a sales order that is created, or it could be an incoming email. Maybe you have an inbox where a customer or a supplier is asking for a certain information, a status of a sales order or whatever. In our case, since from a setup perspective, we cannot give everyone an email address, we have created a simple demo question trigger event, basically. So a simple Power App that when you enter a question there, it simulates an email, or it simulates an SAP event that is created. And once this event is triggered, then the Copilot agent starts to execute a lookup process in the SAP system. And just one thing that I want to show there, because the cool thing is you don't need to develop anything, but you just write an instruction. So in this instruction, you say, look, you are an agent. These are the things that you have. These are the instructions. So when an email comes in or when an event comes in, check the frequently asked question. If there's a question about sales orders, then use the look up sales order, or then try to answer the question. So it's really, really a very simple scenario, but it shows hopefully the power of this low-code interaction with an SAP system from Copilot or Copilot Studio specifically.
So next time, Holger, we should then pin the participant against each other and measure them by the precision of the result, and then take the new instructions for next time.
Absolutely, yes, and iterate it. As you said, I mean, there were so many lessons learned from previous events to this one. So I'm sure for the next event, we'll have even better, even more improved lab scenarios with even more sophisticated prompts available. Good, so this was a quick rundown on the sessions. When you watch this video or when you listen to the audio, then by that time the TechXChange is finished. Hopefully everything went well. Hopefully the internet connection was stable and everything worked. Again, if you were not attending, if you couldn't get in the sessions because they were booked out, or if you couldn't come to Wiesbaden, here are is the GitHub repo. Feel free to play around. Feel free to leverage this for your own trainings. Do other training sessions if you like. If you have questions, create, or if you see issues, then create your issues, create pull requests if you like. We are more than happy to feed in your feedback to improve, so that others can benefit from this. And then potentially again in next year, we might even have some additional improved content there. For now, thank you so much to all of you. Thanks also to Robin who couldn't attend. I know in the last few weeks we had quite a lot of work to make these tutorials happen. It's actually not only us. There's a much bigger team behind. You'll see a lot of contributors here to the GitHub repo. A lot of colleagues also spend a lot of time to work on these sessions. So thanks also to them. And yeah, that's it from my side. Any closing words from you?
No, that was the perfect ending. Yeah, with all the colleagues involved. Thanks so much for everyone involved. We will listing them on the GitHub repository.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Then for the three of you, I'll see you on Friday. Or for the viewers and listeners, I have seen you on Friday, so will be interesting. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.